I was just enjoying the countdown music there. Akshat, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you for having me, Lee. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Uh,
Folks, welcome. You are joining us on day 4. Yes, it's day 4 of the BFCM Prepathon 2022. Before we continue, let us just tell you about something pretty crazy cool. You have the opportunity to win Amazon gift cards, one-on-one consultancy, free Cloudways credits, free tools, and more. So please, can I encourage you to check the pinned comment in this live stream for more information. We'll make sure we pop that up a few times in there for you. And also don't forget to follow us over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date as to what is going on. So, folks, we are really excited to be joined by the one and only Mr. Akshat Choudhary. He is the founder of BlogVault, a product that I have used for an awfully long time and I'm a huge fan of. So thank you. I'm fanboying over you right now, Akshat. So thank you for being here. Today, Akshat will be presenting on the role of security in a successful BFCM campaign. That's Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So Akshat, before we launch into your presentation, it'd be wonderful if you could just quickly share with us maybe a 60-second biography for those who may not know you.
all right. So, hi, I'm Akshat Choudhary. I'm streaming in from Bangalore, India. And yes, I'm glad to be here. I'm the founder of BlogVault and Malware. These are a couple of products that we make. BlogVault helps you back up websites. Malware helps you secure them. And because we have worked on Malware for such a long time, I thought this is a great opportunity to talk about security, specifically in the context of, Black Friday sales. Uh, I'm over the next maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, we'll have a good chat about what we think is a good way of thinking about security in this context.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. As you prepare for your Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, you really want to make sure that your websites are secure, they're stable, and they are performing just like that, because you don't want anything potentially blocking those sales. So, Akshat, I'm really grateful that you're going to present for us. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to hand over to you.
All right. Thanks again, Lee. And so as I mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about website security, specifically in the context of Black Friday sales. Okay, so because website security again is a very vast topic, and some of it, I think, if you guys have been hanging around, you must have seen some of it getting covered in the previous session, right? So while what we will focus is obviously there's going to be some overlap, but also hopefully we'll be doing it in the context of hosting a fantastic Black Friday sale for your site and store. Black Friday is critically important for all of us in this industry. For us as building these products, having this, we ourselves have a sale and generate a huge percentage of our annual revenue during this event with large number of new customers coming in, and I'm sure that's true for all of you also.
Yeah.
All right, so to get started, again, I'm Akshat Choudhary. I'm the founder of Malware. That's our security. That's a complete security solution for websites. And yes, let's get started. So what makes me what makes me a credible person to be giving this talk is that we have seen over 25,000 hack sites. Okay, in the past 4 or 5 years. It will actually be much higher than this, but 25,000 is a conservative estimate. Today, we process over 3 billion plus requests per month, and we identify attacks from this and process them and block them out. All right, so we'll get straight into it. I'll cover it in, there will be 4 or 5 major points, and then I'll break those points down. Every security, I don't think any security talk about websites or WordPress security can start without updates. To me, that's the most important part about website security. And you must have heard it in numerous number of times, and I'm going to just repeat it. Updates is the most important part of WordPress security. Okay? And why is it important? Because every software actually has vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities are basically bugs which let some external entity get unauthorized access to that software or to your website, right? Just in the past 12 months, there have been 1,700 plus WordPress vulnerabilities.
That's insane.
That's insane, yeah.
It
And
makes
because
you worry.
WordPress, exactly, and it's a very, very large ecosystem, right? So because of the size of the ecosystem, the 1,700, and these are like, not every vulnerability is a critical vulnerability, but 1,700 is what we are tracking. And this is like the graph of how it's progressing over the months.
That's amazing. And I suppose as well, if you're tracking it, that must mean that other people who maybe have less honorable intentions are also tracking vulnerabilities, etc. So they are aware if there is a problem with a major plugin, and they are looking for sites that may have that vulnerability so that they can attack it. Would that be right?
Absolutely. In fact, a large number of these are discovered by malicious actors.
Right.
So the good players are the last, maybe are the last ones to know in many cases.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but it's the nature of it, the discovery, because it's there's so much profit to be made from exploiting these vulnerabilities, that these actors, they just they invest a lot of resources into it, obviously, and we are in an arms race essentially. So anyways, we have like a large number of vulnerabilities, 1,700 plus in the past 12 months, at least that's what we are tracking. And the only solution to that is having regular updates, because when there's a vulnerability, when it is discovered, there's a patch that is created and the software gets updated. And the only way, and what you do is you do regular updates, right? So you need to make sure that, again, I'm not saying, I'm sure if you have been running a website for any duration of time, you must have heard this. This is not news, right? This is obvious stuff, but still worth reiterating.
Absolutely.
All right. So what makes it, especially in the context of e-commerce stores, is it's not easy updating e-commerce sites. Okay, that's the one big difference. Like we have WordPress sites, they themselves are not easy to update, but e-commerce adds a completely different layer of complexity. This complexity causes a lot of errors. So, our e-commerce site is actually really complex bits of software all coming together to have this wonderful shop experience. But there's a lot of complex software in there. And as you update, and you might have like 20 plugins doing small things like fixing your payment processing, to carts, to how you create build the layout of your store. You can just imagine the number of pieces to calculate taxes. And all of these need to work perfectly together. And when you cause these updates, there's always this risk of errors. And because of which, and it's just natural, right? Because when so many gears are all intertwined and working together, there are bound to be problems.
Yeah.
And because of which, and we have seen this with so many e-commerce stores, is when you're so scared of running these updates, you don't actually do updates. So we have like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of websites on our network, and of them, just today I picked out this number, is 87% of sites have at least one update available.
I can imagine why as well, especially for e-commerce sites. So we manage several e-commerce sites, and with WooCommerce, if I'm going to do a major update, I know it's going to do a database update as well. So it's going to change a whole lot of stuff in the database. Equally, like you mentioned, I've got maybe 3 or 4 different add-ons to allow for things like memberships, tax calculations, and also integration with, say, a third-party pick and pack service, depending on what type of site that is. So they're going to need updating, and I need to know that they're still going to work, despite the fact WooCommerce has been updated and its database has been changed, and perhaps something has been depreciated as well. So I've no idea. And then throw into the mix the theme. If I've overridden the WordPress theme and I have files in my WordPress theme, suddenly I now have a whole load of error messages telling me that my template files are out of date for this, and this page, and that I need to update them. And it's so overwhelming at times just to keep on top of all that. So I can understand that figure. Doesn't surprise me, because I know how hard it is when it comes to WooCommerce, when you've got all of those different things going.
Right, and I could not have painted a better picture than what Lee just did over here.
Thank you.
Of what goes through each one of your, when you see that list of updates. And if you're running like multiple websites, then you're you're always worried, and it's not a pretty picture, right? So even simpler websites, we are always scared to update them because things are working. Why would I go and mess things up?
Yeah.
It's going to add to the work. But and that's a balance we need to create, where updates are important for security, and at the same time you just need to be, you want to ship stuff and create more products, right? So and you don't want to be doing these updates and solving these problems every day. So now the question is, why now? Why am I talking about updates in the context of Black Friday, right? And the reason is, you need to. Black Friday is this thing which I think it's about in a month's time now.
That's
and
right.
We obviously want to make sure that our website is secure so that things don't go wrong during that period. And also we want to make sure that everything is up to date. Now, the right time to do that, how do you make sure and how do you plan to do these updates, is, I think, especially for Black Friday, you need to have a much more meticulous planning around this.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that you do all the major updates at least 2 weeks before Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Right? So you have a 2-week period where, even something goes haywire, you have something to recover from. Right, so I would suggest that, and that's when you say the pens down. I'm not going to make any major changes to the website, especially around updating it, because you don't want to take any risk. And these updates will keep coming in.
Absolutely.
So, because every time you open the dashboard, you will see updates, but you know that the major updates you are done, and you know that things are okay.
Things are okay for now. We're going to risk it for the for the next 2 weeks. I'd also encourage you folks as well that Cloudways have safe updates, so you can actually run safe updates, which will do a clone of your site and actually run some of these updates to do some tests for you. So if you are worried about the things I just mentioned, you may be worth checking that out. Thought I'd give a little plug there. Sorry, Akshat, carry on.
No, so you just what do you call, jump the gun there. I'm going to come to the safe updates bit.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
All the Cloudways customers, I'm going to make sure that you guys are well taken care of throughout the presentation. I'll ensure that all the things, all the benefits which Cloudways provides, we make sure that you make the most of it. And for the other folks, there are alternative tools also to these. So yeah, the one thing you would do is, while in this 2-week period, you will also monitor for vulnerabilities. You can use a bunch of different tools out there, from patch stack to WP scan to other databases. You can connect to them and just monitor vulnerabilities to see if there is any major security vulnerability. And for the next 2 weeks, just do security updates. Avoid doing, and the reason why the security updates are safer to do is because they tend to be much smaller patch fixes, point fixes, and they don't involve doing complete they don't tend to cause things to break. The risk is much lower. So in the last 2 weeks, I would focus on just doing the security updates. So first one is, make sure that you are monitoring vulnerabilities, and then only doing the updates which involve vulnerability. The other way, in case you can't monitor for vulnerability, what you can do is you can go through the README, and most of the times, if there is a security fix, the release notes contains that, okay, this is a security fix. Okay, we have seen it's, while that's not 100% true, but it's generally people have followed that system.
Yeah.
Now coming to what Lee was already talking about, as an e-commerce site owner, you don't want to play fast and loose with your website. If something breaks, then you're going to lose money. Forget during Black Friday. You don't want to lose any of your customers or have them have a bad experience. So the ideal place to do these updates is to create a staging site and do the updates, and do the updates there, test everything out as part of using on the staging site, and once everything is fine, then repeat the process on live. What I would again suggest is, don't, and sometimes people like to do this, but generally we suggest repeat it on the live site. So don't merge it from the staging to live when it comes to updates. Just repeat the updates on the live site. That reduces the overall risk associated with running a website.
Well, that avoids the data loss as well, because I've actually done that before,
Yeah.
where I ran the updates, received several orders in between, and then I actually downloaded.
Yeah.
I don't know what I ticked, but I overwrote the site and lost some orders, which was quite stressful.
Yes,
So be careful.
exactly. Yeah, so for updates specifically, you don't want to go through that
Mhm.
headache. And the cloud, now pitching in the Cloudways thing, and while frankly, Cloudways has done a fantastic job over here of just making it easy for you to just click on a button, it creates a staging site for you. It does the updates, all the updates there, does a visual regression test and a bunch of other tests on it, so you know that uh, the the website is at least working at some level. Obviously, you can go in there and you go in and create a staging site and do a lot more than this. And in fact, we recommend you to go in and at least make sure that the checkout process is working. You're receiving the emails, you're making sure that the credit card form, everything is loading correctly. You can add product to the cart and everything else. And but the safe updates by Cloudways is a real time saver, and it does reduce the stress associated with it. Do this 2 weeks before Black Friday, and I think you will be in good stead when it comes uh, to having at least checking one important security point associated with this. Okay. Okay. Now moving on to the next thing, and bots. So bots are quietly damaging your site. Uh, Bots are, if you're running a website, and if you ever look at your logs, you will know that there are these funny uh, looking things in there, or people are just constantly visiting your website, which don't show up in your analytics, right? These are bots trying to scrape it, trying to attack it. They are, yeah. So these are not folks that you want to be accessing your website or loading it. And in our experience, what we have seen, again, with Malcare, we have a partnership with Cloudways, which does bot protection for you, so which blocks out all these bots. But we have seen that up to 50% of traffic on a website can be bots, and that's an insane number if you think about it. Just imagine that 50% of your hosting bill is going towards actually serving bots and not actual customers. Uh, in context of an e-commerce store, it becomes even more important, bots, because when something is served from the cache, even if it's a bot, and if it's serving it from the cache, it's fine. You can the load on the site is limited. But if you're running an e-commerce store, you know that caching is only goes so far. A lot of the website is actually served using PHP processes, right? The whole website loads, whole WordPress loads, and all the processing is done to make sure that cart is there are items present, it's there available in the store. So you can't really cache any of those pages, and you don't
Can I
want.
share a story about that then?
Yes,
Just to
absolutely.
highlight. Yeah, awesome. So my agency is in the events industry, and event registration is ridiculously important. So we need to be able to do campaigns to say 10, 20, 30,000 people on an email list. We're going to expect a whole load of people to visit the website. And what we found a few years ago when we were sending out these registration campaigns in order to convert people was that when all those people would hit the site, we knew there'd be, say, 1,000 or 2,000 people hitting the site in one go, and the website should have been able to cope. And we couldn't work out why everything was crashing, why people were getting error messages, why our clients were calling us up and being ridiculously stressed with us. And we actually worked out, just like Akshat said, that the bot traffic was actually responsible for taking up about 80% of the resource. We had to disable caching in certain areas, especially for the registration process. So we had bots attacking our website permanently, and the actual lifesaver for us was Malcare. So thank you, Akshat. I can thank you in person that you were single-handedly responsible for helping us ensure our clients get their event registration nailed, so that we're not constantly being attacked by bots. Those are being blocked away, and people can actually access those forms, especially when we do those email campaigns. So very similar to what you might expect on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, there's going to be an increase in traffic on your site because of the promotion that you're doing. So you definitely want to make sure that you're prepared, just like we have to be whenever we do any of these campaigns in the events industry. I hope that helps kind of highlight that, Akshat.
Absolutely. I could not ask for a better co-host, for
Thanks,
a better
man.
host. Yeah.
The bromance is real.
Because illustrating any of these things, these points with real life experience is something else, and having somebody just pitch in that the thing, I'm sure the audience is able to now visualize it very well, and the pain that you're describing, that your client is going through the stress of, okay, fine, why are these getting errors, and you're sending this email, you're doing this email campaign, and then they're facing this error. Exactly the same thing will happen during Black Friday. And all your planning that, okay, fine, so many customers, I'm going to have so many servers. What you don't compensate for is bots, and they are these PHP. And because these things, these pages cannot be served from cache, you need to be very, very mindful. Like the cost associated with the resources used by the bots become critically important for you. Okay, so just as you mentioned, it lowers the server capacity. So what you think can handle 100 or 1,000 customers is actually able to handle only a fraction of that. And a lot of these things, you get these alarms. You have different security plugins enabled on it. They are sending you logs and alarms saying that these are the IPs which are attacking you. And frankly, it's like what's the terminology here? I think using a bucket to save a sinking ship. It's like these IPs, these bots will just keep using more and more IPs, and they're all over the internet. So you're not, it is just not possible. The other thing you are obviously tempted to do is you're like, oh, fine, there, I can see that it's coming from this specific country for now. And you'll be like, let me just geo-block that. And again, that's not a great idea, because we have seen that bots adapt very quickly, and they'll go to different countries, and you might end up geo-blocking valid customers. So both of those possibilities exist. And Black Friday, like you mentioned, Black Friday will push the limits. You are going to have your best ad campaigns running at this time. You're going to be sending out emails to all your customers, and they're all going to be logging in during this 1, 2, 3, 4 days, right? And it's going to push the limit. So you want your website to be highest performance during this. One of the ways of solving it, obviously, is through Cloudways bot protection, which is powered by Malware. Sorry for the pitch. But,
I already pitched for you, mate.
Yeah, you already did that. So yeah, we have partnered with Cloudways, and we power the bot protection. Every website you get on Cloudways gets a bot protection, which is powered by us. Alternatively, you can use Cloudflare or any of there are a few other solutions out there to protect you from this. I would strongly suggest, like when you're going into Black Friday, keep the bots out. It'll save you a lot of server resources.
Yes.
Right, and it will ensure that you have better performance, which will lead to better conversions. Because now, not only is your load lower, but also when the load is lower, the customers are served, the pages are served faster. So it's not just that few customers are not getting to are seeing errors, but the folks who are seeing the pages also actually have a faster experience. And we all know, and we have all seen the Amazon study where every second or 100 millisecond leads to or every second saved on Amazon leads to like $100 million saved or additional revenue actually on Amazon. This was in early 2000 time frame. You can imagine what that number today is.
I can't imagine. That sounds huge.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's an insane, and the same thing applies. We have seen this again. Every Google, Amazon, all the big players, they have done this very clear analysis where a better performance leads to more revenue. It's almost like a tautology today. So we just take it. Yeah. So you are going when your server resources are free, the whole site is going to perform better. So keep the bots out. That's number 2, and it becomes even more important on Black Friday, because on a normal day you are not going to see this kind of traffic. All right. A third one is DDoS attacks. Again, we have heard a lot about DDoS attacks. This is something which is on the rise. Ransomware is on the rise, and what I wanted to talk about is like Cloudflare has published a lot of data on this. They are, in fact, today I think they see more DDoS attacks than. No, I think the only other couple of people doing it are Amazon or Google. And Cloudflare has published a lot of data around DDoS attacks, right? And so this part of the presentation is a lot from that data. One of the big things that they published was in 2016. There was a huge surge in DDoS attacks just before Thanksgiving, because uh, obviously this is a valuable period for all the high value stores. And such DDoS attacks. So I'll just get to that point. Is even this year, just October 12th, they published another data where they said that there's been 111% year-on-year increase in DDoS attacks.
Wow.
So compared to Q3 of 2021, there's been 111%. So it's almost doubled the number of DDoS attacks happening. Okay. And there's been a 67% increase in ransom DDoS attacks. So what's happening is these hackers or malicious actors, what they are doing is they're targeting important stores, important websites, and they are targeting them for ransomware. So ransomware is where malicious actors will do different things. They might delete data, or they might encrypt all your data. In this specific case, they are doing DDoS attacks on your site, and they will only let go of it if it is
if I was to pay up, they would stop the DDoS attack.
Exactly.
Which means I don't really trust them in the first place, and I would then worry about what's to stop them doing it again, or someone else doing it the minute they know you pay up. It's a horrible situation. I didn't realize this was a thing. I knew about the data encryption ransomware. I didn't realize that people had weaponized this in this way.
Yes, again, so this I'll get to this, and it's increasing. Again, because e-commerce is increasing, and especially in the past 2 years through COVID, it's grown so rapidly. So all these other factors are also growing at the same pace. Because people are seeing opportunity to arm twist people and store owners into paying up. It is alarming, the 111% doubling of DDoS attacks. Obviously, it's alarming, but I'll also say that there's no need to panic, because given the size of internet, even if it is tens of thousands of sites, it's still only a small fraction. So the chances of your site getting affected, like if you're running a regular store, there's a very low chance of you coming in the crossfire. So that's the only one way I would think about this. Though if you're running a high risk site or something which is more prominent, then you should take precautions. And again, this is another third. Again, maybe I should charge Cloudways for this presentation. But it's such a natural flow. It's such a natural fit. Cloudways has partnered with Cloudflare Enterprise, where you can get like the best of Cloudflare's DDoS protection and some of the other firewall protection for actually a very, very low price because of this partnerships. And you can enable it on your website if you're on Cloudways. A lot of other web hosts also have such partnership. So take a look at that, and these things can be a real lifesaver. Like I mentioned, especially if you have like a critical e-commerce store. Also, if you're like us and you don't want to, you don't mind investing a small amount of money to get that extra peace of mind, it's always good to have.
Absolutely.
So this is one of the things I will recommend.
This is the combination we use for the events industry. So we use Cloudflare Enterprise. I can never say that. Enterprise plus with Cloudways. Sorry, and we also have Malware as well. So we've got both levels of protection. We've got the denial of service attack protection. There we are. Got there eventually. And of course we've got the bot protection as well, amongst other things. So we feel golden because we are serving the people who are really visiting our websites rather than serving all of that fake traffic. So for us, it's perfect.
All right. So yeah, so that's number 3, and number 4 is the malware, which is damaging sites from within. There's no such thing as first thing is foolproof security. So there's always a chance of your site getting hacked. Never believe that things are foolproof. And what we notice is that sites even when they get hacked, and we've seen this so often that we have customers who, especially agencies who bring in 100 sites onto our platform, and they will suddenly find 2 or 3 malware on them which they didn't even know. And these malware is, what and this is the the terrible thing about this is, these malware are just sitting quietly. They're sitting dormant for months, and you just don't know that this malware exists because it's not doing anything. It's not making a lot of noise. It's not sending spam email. It's not showing up on Google. None of it it's doing, but it's just sitting there in a corner of your website. And then they activate during Black Friday or Cyber Monday for maximum impact. Because then that's when they know that there's going to be maximum traffic on your website. That's when they can cause maximum damage, right? And what kind of damage do these things cause? They'll redirect your website to, so all the visitors that you're getting on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they are getting redirected to a different website altogether, selling all sorts of stuff. You will see now, this is another place where you'll see pharma hack, people selling illicit drugs on your website. This is again something which we are seeing. These are things which will pop up during a Black Friday, because that's when they get the maximum they can cause the maximum damage. What also happens is these malware can cause your emails to be blacklisted. So your outgoing emails get blacklisted by different spam providers, and all of a sudden now when you're sending the actual emails out, to all your clients through Mailchimp integrated or any of these public services, you'll see that there's a higher bounce rate because of this malware. So you need to be more mindful of it, and you need to make sure. And we'll talk about the solution in a bit.
Yeah.
The other thing you will notice, and Google hates sending any of the visitors to a hacked website. So what the first thing Google will do is it'll start blocking your ads. So if you're running any Google
they are
ads,
very fussy.
Yes,
very.
exactly.
We've had
So
this a lot.
One of the things is that you are seeing ads coming in, like regular Google SEO traffic getting blocked, and that's one problem. But when your Google ads get blocked, it's like a sudden hammer, and all your traffic will stop. And if this happens during Black Friday, you can imagine the stress involved, because
the process is quite slow as well, folks, so do be aware. So we have had this a lot in the past, thankfully not for the last couple of years, because we're golden, we're using the solutions that we're talking about today. But we've had our ads blocked, and it's then taken 24 hours, or Google have had a look, and they still seem to think we're infected. So we've then had to make our case as to why we really aren't infected anymore, etc. So it's taken an awfully long time to get those ads reactivated, so that we then have our source of traffic. And especially if you are heavily reliant on the Google ad traffic, you really need to make sure that you're protected in advance. Carry on, buddy.
Yep. One other thing that can happen is web host will suspend your site because you're serving malware from your site, and no web host wants that, because when you are serving malware from your site, then you are bring down the reputation of the entire server or even the web host. So because people on the internet do not take kindly to the infrastructure level, people don't take kindly to servers which have malware on them. Okay, so web host will suspend your site, and we have seen this happen again and again, and you don't want this to happen during the most important 4 days, frankly, of a retailer's
absolutely
year. So you just want it to work perfectly. You'll also see credit card skimmers. People, this is a great time to just have these hackers will insert JavaScript which are reading everything that you enter, that the customer is entering all the credit card details, and they'll skim that. Even if you are using Stripe, which does not send any of the data to your servers, which I'm sure most of you are not, but where you are using the Stripe APIs and not the Stripe checkout page, in that case also this is a very dangerous thing, and we've seen credit card skimmers use this, exploit it. And and to avoid these pitfalls, what we recommend is doing deep scanning for malware on your website. There are a lot of malware scanners out there, and what you really require is deep malware scanning. Okay, something which is going through every aspect of your website. Typically these are plugin based, and any remote scanner, they cannot identify these malware which are sitting dormant. So you want to find this malware much before Black Friday. It's almost like the 2 weeks before your website, before Black Friday. You want your house in order.
Yeah.
So you want to run regular deep malware scanning and make sure that you remove the malware at the earliest. Have a remediation plan always ready. So it's your disaster recovery plan, because when malware hits, if you're running your own store, obviously you can imagine having your hair on fire. But also, if you're running websites, if you're managing it for others, then it causes panic to set in.
Yeah.
And if you have a plan in place, like with any other disaster recovery, then at least you know how to deal with it. So having a remediation plan is always good to have. Okay. Final part I want to talk about is okay, fine, this is evergreen factors applicable to every e-commerce store when it comes to security. Is have great branding, because that will avoid, when you have great branding which is consistent, so then phishing gets people will not be able to run phishing emails so easily on your have SSL certificate people that really have credibility badges, use good prompt processors, and also obviously have good backups as a complete fail-safe. So these are some of the additional things which again are important in security context. I wanted to add in there, but they're not specific to Black Friday as such. Okay, and yeah, so that's it. That's from me. Thank you so much. You can catch me on Twitter on Akshat C, and my website is malcare.com.
Folks, absolutely follow Akshat, and do also check out malware.com. Just on the disaster recovery side of things, that is a huge issue. So if you've never really had a plan for what you would do if your website went down, then I would highly recommend you look at the tools and the tech that you have available to you now. We've got a whole month to go before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So have a look at what you have now and ask yourself the important question: what do I do if everything goes down? Do I have a backup available to me that I can restore within, say, 2 hours or within 1 hour? Once you've then written down whatever the plan is going to be and plugged in whatever tech you need to plug in, I would then recommend that you test that plan. So actually do a real world test obviously on a staging environment, to see how long it takes and what problems rear their heads. Adjust the plan to deal with whatever problems you discovered, and run that test again. And I would again say run that test at least 2 weeks again before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, at the same time as you're doing those updates that Akshat recommended. So disaster recovery is a massive one. It's something that we didn't do for many years. I used to do it in the IT industry for our servers and everything, but I never really considered it for websites. And I always kind of relied on, there's a backup, we'll just restore it. But the backups don't always work. Back in the day, this was a bad time for us. We had the exact problem happen. We were infected with malware on an event site. We did have backups. Turned out it'd been dormant for an awfully long time, so the backups actually contained the malware anyway, which meant then we were trying to restore a website and it was still triggering. So it was no fun. I would say be careful, test what you've got. Actually, you've been really helpful. The biggest takeaways for me were obviously making sure you get everything updated and do the important updates at least 2 weeks before, but then consider monitoring those third-party services and doing those security updates specifically building up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Also, I was pretty shocked about the number of bots that are increasing. So put in some sort of bot protection plan. And then obviously the biggest takeaway for me, which I've just talked about, was the disaster recovery. So I do have a question for you, buddy. And the question is, what final words do you have on the BFCM Prepathon? And how did you find the overall experience with us?
It's again, being associated with Cloudways has always, it's we have a long relationship with Cloudways, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this. Thank you again for hosting it and actually pitching in, just at the right time. So that's where I thought it. I just love the past 45 minutes of our conversation here, and hopefully the takeaways they were good. takeaways for anyone listening.
Well, we greatly appreciate your time as well, coming and giving of your time, sharing all of the valuable content, the valuable advice, and of course, bigging us up whilst we're more than happy to big you up as well. Like I said, at a personal level, our business relies on Cloudways, relies on Malcare, and your partnership that you have with Cloudways, and of course, the partnership that you mentioned with, with Malcare and with Cloudflare as well. Oh, all these words, it's hard to get out. So, so folks, be sure to check out everything that we've talked about today. I would say have that disaster recovery plan. Make sure you do those updates at least 2 weeks before. We are at the end of day 4, so feel free to cry. But don't worry, you can always watch this again. And if you are watching this again and you get this far, why not throw a comment in saying that you're watching the replay? And also let us know in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway? You all know mine with regards to disaster recovery and testing it, etc. What is your biggest takeaway? We are really interested to find out. Tomorrow is day 5, and it is the last day as well of the Prepathon. We're going to be focusing on the socio-economic situation, basically the current economy, etc., and all the negative news that's going on around us, and all of the stress about the economy and how that's going to affect small businesses. So I would encourage you to tune in. We've got at 1:15 Eastern time, we've got How to Pivot Your Marketing Agency During Uncertain Times with Dennis Yu. That's hosted by my good friend Jan Koch. And then at 2:15 Eastern time, we have Lead Gen and Conversion Lessons from 500 plus. Wow. E-commerce website redesigns. And that's going to be with Andy, and that's hosted by Robert Jacoby. So all that's left for us to say, folks, is thank you so much for your time. Do tune in tomorrow. If you're not, please check out the comments. Also, if you're not involved in this competition, check out the pinned comment as well. Akshat, thank you so much for your time. You are a legend. Shall we give the folks a cheesy wave before we end this broadcast? I think we should. Cheerio, and thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow, day 5.